Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 77 of the Sensible Sociopath podcast.
Woohoo!
Actually, I should have done a little Robert Shaw there. Hello, everyone, and welcome episode 77 of the Sensible Sociopath podcast. I'm Robert Shaw,
Hi, Robert Shaw.
Roma's Jaws.
Dun, 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 dun.
Boo, boo. So today we are having a special episode that we have pre-recorded, but we're recording it with a friend of the show, Count Drahoon, who is a horror host and vampire, right?
That's
Drahoon?
correct.
And so, how long have you been a vampire?
Long time.
I would
Really
imagine
long
most
time.
have.
hmm It's been, some would say it's been an eternity.
Wait. Oh, I double clicked.
Is that a misfire?
Do you have a favorite vampire movie?
Oh, I do not have a soft spot for Dracula because
Okay.
let's face it, they basically stole my act. I've been
He's a
trying
hack.
to reclaim my identity for a long, long time, but so far it's a long road to hoe, as they say. But the favorite vampire movie, tell you what, I will answer. It's a two-parter because there's a more contemporary vampire film that I really enjoy, and then there's I guess more of an old school kind of vampire film that I enjoy.
Like Dracula
Modern
2000?
times, I'm sorry.
Like Dracula 2000? Is that what?
Well, actually, I'm more partial to Dracula 3000 because it's Dracula in space. And anytime you put something in space,
It's better.
it's just right. It just gives it a whole new flair, like Jason X, and when you put Godzilla in space, it's a whole, just puts the franchise in a whole different trajectory. But I'm
Roman-
actually a fan of a film that was made in Sweden and then remade in America about 10 years ago called Let the Right One In.
Never heard of it.
You have heard of it?
I have not.
I have.
Okay, well, the remake is called Let Me In, if you're familiar with that one.
Okay.
Basically, it's about a young boy who falls in love with a young girl who is his neighbor, and she happens to be a vampire. And it's sort of a little puppy love story, but with vampires.
All right.
The Swedish film, I think, came out in 2008, and then it was remade a couple years ago. Chloe Moritz is the lead in that one, and also Richard Jenkins was in that one too. It's a really good one. More old school vampire film.
Blade.
I'm sorry.
Blade.
Blade's a good one, but I don't know if it's quite that old school.
Dusk Till Dawn.
Spawn's not a vampire though. He's like a half demon.
Oh,
Oh.
he said Dust Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
From
Yeah.
Dusk Till Dawn.
The
sorry.
Quentin Tarantino.
But
Yeah.
I'm old.
Very
After your third century of living, your hearing sort of goes out a little bit.
A lot of rock concerts.
There's an older vampire movie that was made in the 40s called The Return of the Vampire.
Oh, yep. I know that one.
Bela Lugosi is in it. He looks like me. He sounds like me, but his character's name is Armand Tesla. But what's really cool or cold, whatever the adjective is.
Chilling.
What's chilling about the film is that his servant is a werewolf. So that's really cool. And it all happens in London in the 40s. So as all of this monstrosity is going on, the Germans are dropping bombs on London. So it's actually a really interesting film. So I'd say those two are some really good vampire films if you haven't had a chance to check them out.
Anything with space and anything with Nazis automatically brings it up.
And when you make space Nazi movies, all bets are off.
Even
I don't
better.
think anyone's made that movie yet, though.
No,
So.
you could be the first.
There's Iron Skies, where the Nazis are on the dark side of the moon.
Oh, see there, and they may actually be on the dark side of the moon,
Well,
according to some people.
you,
So
you know, I don't know, but speaking of Nazis, you have a quality to you that reminds me of the actor from what was it, Inglorious Bastards.
Christoph Waltz.
Yes, Christoph Waltz. You have a Christoph Waltz quality to you, so you
Do you
may be
think it's
getting
the
ripped
accent,
off.
or do you think it's my hair?
I think I think the face, I think you just remind me of him. I don't know what
Or
you look
he
like.
reminds you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pre death. I don't know what you looked like, or pre undeath, but I
Well,
imagine
I still take that as a huge compliment.
you should.
But I've more or less always sort of looked like this.
Yeah. I mean, your
So,
beliefs may be exactly the same, but I am just saying you look like him.
I do, but then again, what does that say about Christoph Waltz? Does he look undead?
He looks very dashing. He's a
He is.
handsome
He's quite a dashing fellow. I'd like to think of myself as rather dashing in sort of a creepy way, but
Yeah, you should memorize the one where he goes in and has the milk at the Frenchman's table, and he starts talking about the people hiding under the floor. That whole like
Oh, that's so terrifying.
such a creepy scene.
that's a good idea for a Patreon segment. I can just do different scenes from movies that don't have to be horror films. So I can do that scene, and then maybe I can do what's the movie where Meryl Streep, her kid gets stolen by a dingo? Dingo stole my baby. Dingo stole my baby. Is that
Django?
movie? Is it? Okay, well,
No.
No, but that would be funny.
Yeah, Dingo, Django, plus Christoph Waltz in it. Just hitting on all cylinders.
So Drahun, how did you become a vampire?
I was actually born one.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Like
Oh,
Blade.
it is a thing.
Okay.
Well, Blade was sort of accurate in that regard. You do have some vampires that are made into vampires by other vampires, and then you have vampires that were born vampires.
I believe
I'm one
Blade's
of
mother
those.
was bit on the vagina by a by a vampire. Happens
Right.
more than you think.
Sure.
So in lore, vampires can be born. That's a thing.
Yes. So I am a count, which means that I'm given that title because I am a purebred vampire.
Interesting.
My father is actually the king of vampires.
Oh.
So we don't talk much.
So, like Prince of Darkness, is that a moniker that you would take? Or does he have enough children that you guys all kind of split off and you do your own thing to try to distance yourself from your father, kind of an FU?
Right. So Prince would go. I guess being a prince is kind of like being a vice president. You don't really do anything unless something happens to the king. That would be my older brother, who, again, I don't talk to very much. And then everybody else is a count or a countess. So I'm the fifth child, so I'm just a count.
You know, Steve and I have a count in our family bloodline.
He was a philanderer. Apparently had like 9 kids, and he was a count, and in Austria or Poland or somewhere Slavic, some Slavic area, probably similar to where you're from. And he ended up just disappearing. So he
That
left.
sounds about right.
Yeah. Sounds like your dad. Yeah. What a jerk. Yeah.
Well, it just sounds like Europe.
Yep. True. There
Probably
you go.
true.
Yeah.
So what scares vampires? What is your fear in life? Rejection? High taxes?
High taxes.
Texas doesn't scare me, but zombies don't scare me, but they annoy me.
I can see that.
They're a great pestilence.
When you're trying to drive, it's like Canadian geese. I was just thinking, like aren't zombies like Canadian geese wandering around in the road? You can't hit one because it's illegal.
That's actually that's kind of that's a good analogy. I'd say Canadian geese. I don't know. They sort of remind me of the seagulls in Finding Nemo. You know, they always like mine, mine, mine. Except
Yeah.
they don't say anything. They just half the time they just have dribbles drooping out of their mouth. It's disgusting. It's
What do they
impolite as
eat?
well.
Do they eat brains like everybody says?
Geese?
I mean, they.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? They're kind of. I would say they're like vultures, but that's disrespectful to vultures because vultures actually have class. But no, I mean they eat brains, flesh. I mean, whatever they can get their grubby little hands on.
Choco
Um,
tacos.
right.
Yeah.
I sort of made a promise to my son that I'd try to give them a second chance, but it's someday I have good days and bad days. But demons you also have to sort of watch out for because um, they're insufferable. One time I was kidnapped by a couple of demons and dragged to hell because they mistook me for Donatella Versace.
Okay.
Wow.
Because apparently it was her time to go, and they thought that that was me. And
Were
now
you
look,
dressed were you dressed more flamboyantly that day or
well, I've literally been wearing the same. Well, I've changed. I sort of changed out ties. I'm wearing an ascot now, but I more or less have been wearing the same outfit for the last, I don't know, 120 years. So
how many times has it come back into style?
that's
Every 20 or so? I think it's
well,
like a
that's
20-year
why.
cycle.
But you see, that's why I stopped changing
Mhm.
because everything just keeps coming back, and it's like, you know what? Sooner or later, this is going to come back into vogue anyway. So why not just keep it as is and just wait for the curve to come back?
Yep.
So
You
hasn't failed me yet.
get your bell bottoms turned into boot cut, turned into skinny jeans, turned into bell bottoms, you just pretty soon you don't even have a piece of the same cloth on the pants.
Have all-purpose pants.
Painter's pants. That's what Drahoon wears. Ascots and painter's pants. Some Lee dungarees. And so where does one find an ascot nowadays?
Well, let's see. I sort of stockpiled on them sometime in the 1870s. So I've
Okay.
got about. Well, this is the only one I actually kept because they went out. But nowadays, I think most of the time you got to go to like some fancy boutique or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I don't. Most of the time, they're closed by the time I'm out of the town. So, if anyone knows good connection for a 24-hour boutique, let me know.
Or at least overnight. Ascot, are us. Now, where do you hail from and where do you live now?
Well, I record now just outside of Nashville.
Okay.
Right behind me, we're actually in the new studio that we're setting up here.
Mm-hmm.
I was sort of locked down in our producer's home for an extended period of time, partially due to COVID lockdowns and partially just because I got lazy and just didn't feel like going anywhere.
Yes.
But now we're
Fair
sort
enough.
of out and about. But originally, I'm from a very, very, very small area in Eastern Europe called Markovoa, which is supposed to essentially be the mouth of where the Kingdom of Vampires is. So you won't find Markovoa on a map. It's not recognized by the UN or NATO because we don't have oil.
Now, that wouldn't be where the Markov pistol comes from.
Highly doubt it.
Just
No.
wondering. Yeah. I think it's a Soviet pistol, so it could and would. Now, did you come over in a ship with a coffin full of dirt, as some might have been led to believe?
Well, of course, yeah. It's the standard fare. I got shipped over here with the casket and
Mm-hmm.
the earth of my my native soil put
Mhm.
into the box, and I've just sort of been carrying that with me throughout the centuries. But I came to America about 60 years ago because I was dabbling in mad science,
Mm.
Hmm.
and I was looking for sort of a secluded area to conduct my experiments. And so I rented out an old house, and I created my son, Daryl, who's sort of a teenage Frankenstein, along with the help of my lab assistant. And um,
So you
yeah,
kind of
and that,
built him from the ground up?
I did.
Okay.
Like
But
it's like a small business. That was a that was a horrible joke.
yeah, yeah.
Don't laugh at that one.
And when you did come to America, so you came around 1960 then? You said 60 years ago?
No, 19, been right around 50, 54, 55, 50,
Okay. That would be like
52, 52.
52. Okay. So that'd be
Mhm,
like shortly after World War II, probably all the
mhm.
Germans coming over working at NASA. Did you have a craft, a field that you were going into, something to earn some money while you were getting set up, or did you bring enough with you that you just kind of lived off
No,
it?
aristocracy.
Ah.
I've got a lot of booty. So,
Yeah.
and then some.
Yeah. Fantastic. Now
So
is is Nashville a good area to be a vampire?
I think so. I like the South. I actually just I went down to Savannah, Georgia, for a very brief little vacation. Sort of flew in under the radar, literally as a bat. I particularly like the South because there's a sort of a gothic vibe to it,
Yes.
especially out in the rural areas because there's a scenic beauty, um, but there's a lot of there's a there's a strange palpable haunting feeling that you get when you go out into the countryside and you see a lot of old abandoned barn houses and a lot of old decrepit homes. Basically my kind of Friday night scene.
Hmm.
Go in and hang out with a lot of the ghosties and ghoulies that live in those sorts of places. So it's a good place. Of course, active nightlife, so that means an endless supply of food for me. So it works out pretty well.
Now, do you take offense to the implication of bats in the coronavirus?
It's a little bit of a sore subject,
Yeah.
actually. It's I yeah it I feel like governments and humans specifically, they're always wanting to blame us for you
Biting
know
their necks and whatnot.
right.
Yeah.
They're always wanting to blame us for all the plagues, and I'm not saying that we haven't caused a plague or two, but I think it's a little generalizing to jump to the conclusion that this was all on us.
Just by
I'm
the very pale
99%
color
sure
of
that
your
it is.
skin.
I'm sorry.
I said, just by the very pale color of your skin. They
I see
railroaded you
what you
into a corner.
I've got black eyes, so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
So then, Count, are you married, or do counts Draculas get married? Are you considered a Dracula, or are you a vampire? Is
well, no,
Dracula a
I'm
specific vampire?
no, Dracula's Dracula. He's just some loser.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not up on
Hmm.
the whole
Are you
thing.
saying like is that like are you asking if that's like a categorical term for a
Yeah.
certain kind of vampire?
Yes.
Okay, so the word wouldn't be Dracula. In my case, I'm more of what you would call the type of vampire I am is it would be more of a Mora, Mora.
Okay.
That's the term that they would have used around Central and parts of Eastern Europe.
Okay.
But we're all basically the same thing. I mean, it's like church denominations. There's not really that much of a difference between a Presbyterian and a Baptist, but some people got mad and left the church because the carpeting was installed incorrectly. So it is what it is.
Right.
But Mora, Strigoi, Berdalac, there's a lot of different names for different tribes, so to speak.
Okay.
But we're all practically the same. I just happen to be very fancy.
Okay.
Mm.
So then you're married, or you have a partner?
Well, I have had partners.
Okay.
I
Were
haven't
they all
really settled
vampires?
down yet.
Okay.
But,
Were all your vampires partners, or have you ever turned your partners into vampires?
I have turned a few, but it. I don't know. I haven't been quite as lucky, I guess. You turn them into vampires, and then it's great for a little while, but then after a while, they just sort of get annoying, and they just kind of want them to go, so they just do.
Usually takes me about 45 minutes or so after she's paid.
Well, it's 45 minutes in vampire years, so that's about 10 years. So
That's rough.
sometimes it's long enough. But no, I've sort of dated around. I've dated humans before. They're not that much better than vampires. There is sort of one who got away.
Okay.
She wasn't a vampire. She was an alien princess.
Oh,
No,
how'd you meet her?
she crash landed into my courtyard.
Marriott?
Ramada, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm not that fancy.
The Red Roof Inn.
No, it was the courtyard of my castle.
Very nice.
She crash landed, and I took it upon myself to fix her flying saucer, and we got to know each other. But eventually, she had to go back because she was in the middle of a war with another alien race. So, haven't seen her since.
Now, most Mora, I would say, are not handymen that could fix a spacecraft. What has allowed you to do to learn both, to be a fancy gentleman and be able to fix things with your hands like a not so gentle man?
Well, it's always a balance. For me, I've always, I guess, in the world of empires, I've always sort of been an odd duck. Because I've got for forever to live, so I don't want to get bored. I like to try different things. So I dabbled in mad science for a long time, and that's why I was actually able to fix her UFO. Was because I just I kind of had a working knowledge of what to do, because a lot of the same electrodes that were in her ship, very similar to the equipment that I use. So that's kind of how I figured that out. And I don't know, it's just, for me, it's just been sort of a evolution of sorts. Regular vampire, and then I just kind of wanted to do something a little extraordinary, so I became a mad scientist. And then after a while, I kind of paid the price for that. So then I decided that I wanted to hunker down and do something else. So that's how I became a storyteller and an entertainer.
Now, when you say you paid the price for that, what happened? Was it your son?
Well, I had a very I had an epiphany when he was born, because Daryl's very different. I was in a good way. I've learned to appreciate him over the years. But when I created him, I was hoping that he would be the first of many of a giant Superman army that I was going to create. But Daryl turned out to be a really nice guy. I think you would enjoy having him on the show. He's a lot of fun to hang out with. I wasn't used to that. So believe it or not, I was kind of a curmudgeon back then. You know what that is. But I realized that my ilk, my kind of monster, the class of monsters that I came from, were just not scary anymore. And the world has sort of endured a lot more scarier things. World War II and the Cold War, and all the other horrible things that have plagued the world after that, and
Shake weight.
shake weights,
Mm.
and all those infomercials of everybody just spilling everything.
Fondue. Yeah.
Is fondue really a plague, though? I think that's really helped mankind more than it's hurt.
You think so? Okay. I mean, look.
Well, okay. Well, if you pour the scalding hot fondue all over yourself, well then okay, I see your point.
That's true. I just think it's ridiculous that I have to cook my own food in a pot in front of my friends. I have to pay you so I can cook my own food.
Well,
It's a racket.
That is a fair point. Some of the humans that I know, they like had their own fondue maker, so you're not out any clams on that.
It's called a chef. They just cook the food, stupid. I'll sit here being rich and handsome.
I don't even eat human food, and I get that.
Exactly.
So do you only?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, I just was going to say, do you only drink human blood? Is there other things that vampires consume?
Well, I mean, it's basically just blood. Human blood is the main, the center point of our diet. But sometimes we can kind of, vary it out a little bit,
Okay.
Diversify, as it were. And, we can do livestock. And I've heard some vampires are switching to vegan blood, drinking the blood of vegans. It's kind of a big health craze going on right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that. I'm still a little skeptical, mainly because I don't think vampires actually have health problems, but
I don't think it could
everybody
taste
has
the
to find
same.
something to complain about, I guess.
Yeah, it's that would be like the tofurkey of vampire blood. It just doesn't seem like it would taste the same.
Exactly. We don't, and besides, we don't need a tofurkey. There's just, it's not how this works.
Yes.
It's not how any of this works.
Turkey's terrible enough as it is. I mean, I like it for Thanksgiving, but I know you probably haven't had a turkey sandwich in a while, but they're terrible. They're bland. Nothing good about them.
It's nice to know I'm not missing out on anything.
No.
So
You throw a little human blood on it, however, delicious.
it's like a parfait.
Yeah. Just layer it. Yeah. Do you now there are some vampire movies that talk about I don't know if it's the extinction of the human race or for some reason blood is not available anymore. So I think this was part of like Underworld or something. There was like the fake blood that people were able to drink, and I don't know, it'd get you high or something. You'd go crazy, or maybe you got high off human blood, and that's why it was good to drink it. Or maybe I'm writing my own vampire movie script.
It sounds like you could write your own vampire fanfic there. Well, let me just say, like, I hope the human race doesn't go extinct anytime soon because we'd be really screwed. I'd have to look back. I don't know if there's actually any case studies of a vampire. Well, I take that back. We know for a fact that a vampire will not die from not having blood, but if you go too long without having blood, you basically shrivel up like a prune.
Okay.
And you just look like a raisin for a long time until you finally get blood.
Now, I've seen in some movies or TV shows that vampires can be in the sunlight, and then I've seen others where they can't get any light at all. What can you clear that up for us?
That's actually a very good question. So all vampires are allergic to sunlight, but it's varying degrees. For instance, since I'm over 1,000 years old, I can stay out longer in the sun than a newer vampire could.
Okay.
So for me, it'd be about 2 hours before I start cooking.
Because you basically have a base tan from all those years.
Yes, it's like primer. I got a nice finishing coat that just sort of protects me for a little while, but then
Okay.
afterwards it sort of chips away. So that's when I get a little worried. But now, if you've only been a vampire for like 5 minutes, you're dead.
Hmm.
Okay.
But the longer you live, the more blood that you build up in your system, the more powerful you get, the more you're able to sustain sunlight longer.
And that's probably why we don't see as many vampires around as we normally would, because if you're young and immature in your vampire life, you're going to make some mistakes, and maybe you get trapped out in the middle of the desert, and then suddenly that vampire's no more.
Right.
So it's counterintuitive to the evolutionary strength of vampires, because you'd want to live longer the dumber and younger you are to get
Mhm.
to that point where you could be 1,000 years old and well tempered in the ways of the world. But
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably why it's
Youth vampire mortality rates are extremely high.
mm,
So I think it's like I know it's over 50%. So
Hmm.
that's why there's not quite as many vampires as there are humans. But that kind of makes sense, because if there were as many vampires as humans, well, then our food supply would run out pretty quickly. So
So can you feed on a human without turning them?
sure, yeah. Then the movies explain it, but the problem is, you want to feed on someone without killing them. So you don't bite the same person more than once if you go that route. Now, some vampires will just, they'll bite a human more than once and with the intent to just drain them. But then if you want to turn a vampire, it's 3 bites, and then you have to have them drink some of your blood so that the vampire blood can actually get into their system.
Okay.
And then they have to die, and then they have to be buried. And then at nightfall, they rise from their tomb, and then they're all set. Well, they have to drink somebody else's blood, because they're starving. But outside of that, it's pretty much a done deal.
Now, are there any famous figures that we would know of that are not out as vampires, but that you are aware of them being vampires?
Well, I cannot confirm or deny.
Maybe
I have a
allegedly?
very, very, very achy suspicion that more than 80% of all politicians in Washington, D.C. are actually vampires.
I could see that. Interesting.
I mean, they're all 900 years old. They've been senators and congressmen for far too long. They have to be vampires.
I mean, have you seen one try to drink a beer? They look ridiculous.
No? Have you ever seen them eat food?
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Have you
Fork
ever
and
seen
knife?
them not at night?
Yeah,
See there?
it's interesting. Yeah, who was it? De Blasio or somebody was eating pizza with a knife and fork.
Oh, he was? Oh, man.
That's an old one, but yeah, it's like the mayor of New York.
It's like
City.
when aliens or robots come to invade and they try to pretend like they're humans, but they
Yeah.
don't know how to be human.
Smoking cigarettes backwards. They're just trying to act it out.
Well, Mark Zuckerberg. We all know he's a cyborg. Oh no, we don't want them to change the algorithm. We love Zuck.
Yeah.
He's our friend.
Yes. Just trying to make us rich and powerful like he is. That's what he wants.
I'll teach you how to drink Gatorade properly if you don't shut my show down.
Exactly. Yeah, that's Rob and I wink at the camera every now and then, just making sure we got to stay in that algorithm. Not that it's getting to anybody, but because we say enough bad words. But hopefully someday, we'll be soft enough that they'll let us through when they finally cut off all the other controversial content creators.
I do wonder sometimes if maybe Zuckerberg has a bias against vampires.
Yeah.
So sometimes my algorithm, sometimes I don't hit the algorithms right, but we'll see. What if I could hypnotize Zuck? Well, it doesn't work on robots. So.
Yeah, that's true.
If you I guess what social media do vampires appreciate the most? So I think every generation or every, we all have our kind of our favorites depending on what we like.
Well,
Mine would
back
probably be
in
YouTube or maybe a Twitter parlor. Uh,
back in my day when we just had socials and we just hung out in person.
Yeah.
and it was
Now
mead.
now that there's
Yeah.
a pandemic, nobody does that anymore, apparently. No, for me personally, social media wise, I like Instagram
Mm-hmm. Same.
because there's a small part of me deep down in my cold black heart that doesn't beat, that is somewhat basic. So I let my inner basicness shine through with the selfies and the witty captions.
Yeah.
The only thing that's missing is the pumpkin spice and the Ugg boots.
I was gonna ask if Count Drahoon is a basic bitch, and yes, you've quite
Just a
well
little,
illustrated that.
just a little bit.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
So then for your work, you do well, what is it that you do? Will you tell us a little bit about your um yeah,
Horror hosting
horror
and
hosting? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Gladly. So the name of my show is called Count Drahoon's Feature of Fright.
Okay.
It is a radio theater vidcast.
Okay.
Oh,
Used to just call it a podcast, but now that we have video elements to it, it's a vidcast. Basically, what as of now, we do monthly shows where we have a double feature of originally created radio tales. If you're not familiar with radio theater, basically you have actors standing in front of microphones, delivering their lines with scripts, and then we make the sound effects well, on site.
Foley
Uh,
work.
do I?
Foley work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, fully. Sorry, sometimes sometimes I have to really, really explain like overly simplistic. So, but it's nice to know that you
Yeah.
know fully.
The
You can
coconut shells.
you can overly
Right.
explain it to me because I don't know.
Yeah, but like the coconut shells for the horse, the clip clop, clip clop, clip clop.
Steve's the brains of this operation. I'm clearly the beauty, so
Yeah.
you can talk dumb to me.
But yes, so the Foley art, making the sound effects, that's what we do. We do monthly shows. We start out, the first half is we usually have the two radio plays. They have some sort of horror element to them. Sometimes they're funnier than others. Sometimes they're just straight horror. We typically try to balance it out pretty well with horror comedy. And then the second half of our show, since coronavirus, we've sort of reformatted the show a little bit.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do is invite independent artists to showcase their talents for the second half of the show. Of course, we're doing it, we meant to do it locally for the Middle Tennessee area, but now that we have a distribution deal through Trauma Now, we're pretty much inviting all independent artists from around the country and around the world to send us material so that we can put it out there for everyone to see.
Very cool.
So think the show, not Creep Show, Tales from the Crypt.
Ooh.
It's very similar, except instead of the Crypt Keeper, you have a vampire hosting, and it's radio theater of the mind, instead of actually seeing it like you would on Tales from the Crypt.
Very cool.
Tales from the Crypt was one of my favorites back in the day. Also, what was the other one? It wasn't the Twilight Zone. It was the Dark Side. Tales from the Dark Side.
Yes, yes. Tales from the Dark Side's a good one. I have that, or my producer has the full collection on DVD, so I've seen quite a few episodes.
Now,
I spent a lot of time catching up on all the years lost of the cinematic and television stuff that I've missed. So I'm always constantly watching things.
Now, did you were you ever a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Probably a bigger fan of the movies that they showed on Mystery Science Theater
Gotcha.
3000. I've watched a few episodes of Mystery Science here and there, but a lot of the movies that well, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of the movies that they have shown on there, I saw independently,
Sure.
like The Beast of Yucca Flats,
Mm-hmm.
of course, Manos, The Hands of Fate, which is
Mm-hmm.
a masterpiece.
Yeah, there was The Final Sacrifice. That's another great one, Canadian film with
Mm.
Roz Dower. But no, it was one of my favorite shows kind of coming up, and so I was wondering if because you enjoy all the movies of the 50s and 60s and those sorts of things. My sense of humor was heavily influenced by that sort of show, and I'm glad you brought up the old version of it, not the new incarnation. That's
Mm.
you know.
I'm afraid to watch the new incarnation.
Mhm.
I haven't seen it yet.
Netflix, I think, remade it
Oh, okay.
for a season or two, something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, not that it's bad. I think it's pretty much the same thing.
So, do you do? I know you do like kind of dramatic readings of classic stories and probably what poetry and things of that nature.
Yeah, so we started doing this on Monday evenings. We moved it to Tuesday, but during COVID, it was just a way for me to still engage with the audience. But every week, I will read classic horror tales or poems that are in the public domain.
Okay.
Right now, for our readings, we're in the middle of Dracula. I know, ironic.
You mean Hackula?
Right, Hackula. I like that. I'm
You
going to
can take
start
that.
using that. I'm going to start using that from
You
now
could.
on. But yes, we're in the middle of that one. But I've read numerous works of Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft. I read The Interlopers by Saki. I've even read a little bit of Alvin Schwartz's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So
Oh, very nice.
it's a pretty wide variety of stuff. I even read Goodnight Moon once because somebody requested it.
Hmm.
I know it's a little outside of the genre, but it was a fun read.
Mhm.
Did you have anything that you could maybe read for us for our little Halloween special?
I do. I appreciate you asking me. If you're all right with it, I've done this before on my readings. I got a lot of compliments on this one. It also happens to be one of my favorite short stories of all time. It's Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart.
Oh, very good.
Shall I take it away?
Please do.
Please.
True. Nervous. Very, very dreadfully nervous. I had been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none. Passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold, and so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it. Oh, so gently. And then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed that no light shone out, and then I thrust my head. Oh, how you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Ha! Would a madman have been so wise to do this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously. Cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, so it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning when the day broke, I went boldly into his chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone and inquiring how he had passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed, to suspect that every night just at 12, I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my own sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and he not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea. And perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly, as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was as black as pitch with the thick darkness, for the shutters were closed, fastened for fear of robbers, and so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on, steadily, steadily. I had my head in, and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle. I did not hear him lying down. He was still sitting up in the bed, listening, just as I have done, night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or of grief. Oh no, it was the low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it has welled up from my own bosom, deepening with its dreadful echo the terrors that distracted me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt and pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise, when he had turned in the bed. His fears had been ever since growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "Oh, it is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It's only a mouse crossing the floor, or it is merely a cricket which has made a single chirp." Yes, he had been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. And it was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he never saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until at length a simple, dim ray, like the thread of the spider, shot from out the crevice and fell full upon the vulture eye. It was wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinction, all a dull blue with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray, as if by instinct, precisely upon the damned spot. And have I not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over-acuteness of the sense? Now I say there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could to maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew louder and quicker, and louder and quicker every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say, louder every moment. Do you mark me well? I have told you that I am nervous. So I am. And now, at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this that excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet for some minutes longer I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder. I thought the heart must burst, and now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once, only once. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If still you think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the board so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatsoever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bells sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart. What had I now to fear? There entered 3 men, who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused, Information had been lodged at the police, and the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled. For what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerfully, they chatted of familiar things. Ere long, I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My heart ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained definitiveness, until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice. Yet the sound increased, and what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observations of the men, but the noise steadily increased. Oh, God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore, I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible that they heard not? Almighty God, no, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now again, hark! Louder, 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 louder! Villains! I shrieked. Dissemble me no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here! It is the beating of his hideous heart. End quote.
Very, very good.
That was exceptional.
Thank you.
I loved it.
Yeah. I don't think I've read that one it's been since grade school, I think, and I don't ever think I've heard it read so well.
No, never.
I appreciate that.
As to show you the insanity of the person, in I guess the dealing with the eye, the vulture eye, just going crazy over it, killing the guy, and then being driven mad by the sound of the telltale heart under the floorboards that can't possibly be beating, but he can't hold it together.
If you want a good movie recommendation, Vincent Price actually did a movie called An Evening with Edgar Allan Poe. And all it is, it's 3 acts of him doing dramatic readings of different Edgar Allan Poe short stories. It's The Telltale Heart, The Sphinx, and The Pit and the Pendulum.
I have read The Pit and the Pendulum recently, which was
and The Cask of Amontillado. So it's actually 4. but he reads all of those stories himself, and it's very good. It's very good.
Well, I think that would be hard to top. That was very good. I was thoroughly entertained.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I could see
appreciate
a little Vincent Price in you too. You know, kind of the flair for the dramatic, but
But the class. Don't forget
Yeah.
the class.
something along those lines. So you got the Christoph Waltz and Vincent Price, and then Elvira, of course, because of your sweet cans.
it. I don't.
So,
She's not basic though.
oh, Elvira?
She's
No.
not basic.
No.
I don't know. She might dismiss me.
She'd probably like a pair of Uggs, though. I mean, everybody likes comfortable footwear.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I don't know though that she's a lot younger than me, so she might be turned off by the age gap.
Yeah, that's true. Every guy likes a younger gal. What are you gonna do? Even if it is
Very true.
800 years.
Something like that.
So, did you want to? Where can we find you? Where can people find you? Where can they watch your show? What is your Instagram?
Yeah, so I guess the best place to follow me is Instagram. My Instagram handle is @CountDrahun. We have a Facebook like page. You can go on Facebook, Count Drahun's Feature Fright, give us a like. And then I have my own website, featureofright.com. And on that, it gives you links to my online store as well as our Patreon. I think I have a link set up to our Audible account. We just got a sponsorship through Audible.
Oh,
so
very
if you
cool.
like audiobooks, you can go through our Audible link and help us out a little bit. And if you want, go ahead and subscribe to Troma Now. That's where we'll be, hopefully before the end of the year. It's a 30-day free trial, but then it's $4.99 for all the subsequent months after that. Just go to watch.troma.com and subscribe today, and help other independent filmmakers and your count succeed.
Mm-hmm. And is that TROMA?
Yes, like trauma, but it's an O instead of the AU.
Yeah, so like Roma. T-Roma.
There you go, T Roma.
Yep.
We've got your new rap name, Roma.
There you go.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've been called a lot of things, but never T Roma.
Yeah.
Roma.
Well, I think that was a really great Halloween episode, and I'm really glad we had you come on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect.
And we wish you all the best, because if you get famous, then we had you on our show, you know?
Exactly.
So,
When you get famous.
well, more famous, I should say.
More famous.
Obviously, if you have a Audible and all these things, that's awesome.
Those are some feathers in your cap for sure.
Those are the directions we're hoping to go, but got a few more years, I think, to put in the groundwork.
You've got to start somewhere, and Steve, Roma, I really appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed myself quite a lot. You're a couple of good eggs, despite your sociopathic tendencies.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and
we'll do this again at some point.
We'll
Absolutely.
we'll definitely have you on. Maybe we'll have you on the Christmas special. Just put a Christmas hat on you.
We could do our own Hallmark special.
It's true. It's true.
There you go.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much, and we'll be right back after these messages. You know, it's funny. You're ruining the continuity of the show with your hiccups.
I'm sorry. I had them
Suddenly Roma has hiccups, so suddenly she doesn't.
I had them earlier today, and I was worried that I was going to get them again.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did you worry yourself into having the hiccups?
No, but I always get hiccups like multiple times.
Really?
Yeah, so if I get hiccups, I might have them. I'll have them multiple times throughout the day, or possibly even the next day.
I'm having elaborate series of heart attacks.
So yeah.
Roma's clutching her chest, falling into the pool. She just has hiccups. She's had them all day. Roma.
Yep.
I got you some flarp.
Some what?
Flarp?
Flarp.
FLRAP.
Okay. What-
FLARP. I like how shitty I was about it and spelled it wrong.
That sounds nice. What's Flarp?
Well, it is a 3-piece counterpart. There's a couple of options. So first we have Caution, Slime Caution.
Okay.
Then we have Boron Free Bugs Matter. What?
Bugs matter.
Mhm.
Bugs matter.
All bugs matter.
I have
It's spider gunk. And then I have what I got you, which is Flarp Noise Putty.
Flarp noise putty.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to me.
Give me that Flarp.
All right. Flarp noise putty.
So mine has a spider in it.
Oh. Well, I'm glad I didn't get that one.
Why? Because you'd look cool.
So you open it up and it's this like solid gelatinous mass. Not unlike Jello.
Makes sense. Okay, so my spider web stuff is really weird. I don't know if you guys are texture people, but it is.
It smells kind of like jizzy creamsicle.
Roman, this is a family show. This stuff is pretty cool, actually.
That does look cool. Mine's
It's
like
all
your
velvety, too.
mine's like your stereotypical slime. I'm really struggling with the hiccups over here.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. And then you put your spider in it. Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
What a nice spider. Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. All right, let's see about this slime stuff. Uh-oh.
Whoa. That's cool. It looks like every time you watch like a sci-fi like horror show, like so for instance Supernatural or X-Files.
Oh. Sick. It's between my fingers. Oh, that stuff is weird.
I want to play with it.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to make mine make noise.
Roma, you're flarping. Ugh. Oh, there you go. I think that was a flarp. We get it. Should have known you weren't mature enough for flarp. All right, Roma.
All right, hold on. Do you want some flarp?
No,
Okay. Well, I definitely want whatever this is. What is this?
it's slime.
It's slime.
Yeah. Just pour it out into your hand. Yep, on camera. Whole thing. Come on, Roma.
My hand just keeps getting further away. Oh! It's okay, I got it.
That is the worst.
Oh.
Isn't it it's like, it's upsetting. It's so like cold and slimy.
Oh, half of it came off.
Roma, you're very irresponsible with these dollar store items I gave you. You want to feel this one?
Yeah.
This one's kind of cool. It's kind of light and airy.
Bloop.
You wouldn't guess that all of these were the same price, would you?
Oh, it's like that sand stuff. Ooh, this is cool. But now my hands feel all gross from the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like sand. What happens if we mix all of them together?
I don't know. Probably some kind of chemical explosion, I'd imagine. Like a pipe bomb going off.
Yeah, this is cool.
And it's so weird that they just throw a spider in it and go, hey, it's like a spider thing. Like, I'm not sure if it's really like a spider thing.
Here, you gotta play with the flarp one.
Yeah, let me see some of that flop.
Now it's making noises and I'm trying.
It's just like trying to fly. Oh, that is weird. It's so weird how different each of the textures are.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff is so fun. I was just talking to somebody about how fun it was to like get the dollar, get the quarter stuff.
Oh yeah.
Remember remember
Those,
at
like,
Starnes ShopRite?
Yeah, those slappy hand things. Oh, you got it.
Flopping like a motherfucker. It's like one of those adult toys
Seriously.
for dogs.
Oh, your face when that happened.
I don't usually flarp on a microphone, but
Oh, that's great.
you know, Roma, the Chinese really know how to let loose,
Yeah.
you know, and take some chemical waste and make it into something fun.
Yeah, you remember when you were a kid and you got like the 25-cent machine and now they're like 50 cents or 75 or whatever, but they had like the slappy hand things.
In Trump's America. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, those things were the best. It was so disappointing though, because they'd get so dirty so fast. You know, you get COVID on them.
Yeah, it sucks.
You have to stop playing with them. Your mom's all mad. Then you get those cool rings. I'm just kidding. The rings sucked.
Yeah, the rings were the worst.
Like you wanted to get a sticker and there was one that you wanted. All the rest sucked.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you got them all.
Remember they used to have the stickers that had like the hologram, like the not the
Mhm.
is it hologram? I don't know what they call
Yeah,
it.
it was like that
Holographic.
kaleidoscopic
Yeah,
hologram on it.
those were cool.
Yeah. I wonder if any of those were gender biased,
Oh,
if you think about it. I mean, I would hope not. I hope they remake Jaws with an all-female cast.
mm-hmm. Yeah, because that went really well for Ghostbusters. Oh shit, I'm making a mess.
Well, and then none of them could get in the water, you know, because of menstruating. I'm making my own chum.
Oh,
Anyways, Roma, I just wanted to make sure you got your flarp.
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Roma, if a toxic gas starts coming off of that, I'm going to be very upset that you killed us all. Like, it's literally, yeah, it's literally for chemical weapons. That's what they sent us. 3 things that should never be mixed. That's why
Right.
they're different colors, Roma.
Oh, oops.
You're supposed to know that.
Sorry.
Segregation, now and forever, Roma,
Oh, now it's all weird and sticky.
at the Winter Garden Theater.
Okay, now I don't like it anymore.
I just threw it to you.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, good luck with that. I wrecked it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Roma.
Happy Halloweeny.
Happy Halloween. Anyways, oh, I freaking forgot.
What's that for?
Killing my shark.
Did you get the dollar store?
No, I wish I did. It's a
It's
way
pretty cool.
nicer one though.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's for fighting off sharks. Quint used one.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he was trying to. At one point, he chopped the rope line.
Hmm.
It was very dramatic and foreshadowing to, when he was eventually eaten by the shark, that he would be trying to kill it with its face and a machete. His was a little bit different than this one, but it's cool. It's a pretty nice one.
Oh, we should have played with a Ouija board on the show.
Yes, we should invite demons into our hearts.
In the studio. They might be good co-hosts.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know if Ouija board would be well broadcasted. Ooh, are they pushing it? Yes.
Yeah, I could never trust you to do it.
I mean, Roma, I got to deliver, okay? Punchline. Ouija board, punchline.
The funniest
Demonic possession, punchline.
Yeah, the funniest Ouija board session ever.
Yeah. BONER. Boner.
Thought you were gonna spell boobs.
No.
Boobs.
Roma. Yeah. So, welcome back, everybody, to the Sensible Sociopath, episode 77, the Halloween special.
Woohoo!
Now, Roma, we'd like to thank Count Drahoon.
Yes, absolutely.
That was really cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
And we were talking after the episode. And we were complimenting him, or I was complimenting him on his dramatic reading. It was it was building and just tension, and it's really great to see somebody perform such a classic in a way that is understandable and accessible. It's almost like when somebody does Shakespeare really well,
Right.
and that you get it, even though the language and the pacing, that iambic pentameter and all that stuff, it's really cool to just see somebody do a classic well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was very engaging.
Mm-hmm. And I was telling him that I had done the Pit and the Pendulum. I don't even know why I came across it, but I came across something and I wanted to learn more about it. And so I ended up reading through the story again, and basically how Poe created that scene of dark despair, the swinging, the pendulous swing back and forth, and ratcheting down, and
Yeah.
really cool. And it's all just so very dark, so very Halloween-y.
Mm-hmm.
We had been thinking about having him on for quite some time, and with Halloween coming up, we held off until
Yeah, that was perfect timing.
to have the count on. Yes.
So thank you.
Yes.
So your costume.
So Roma, I'm Robert Shaw
Okay.
from Jaws.
Yes.
Captain Quint.
Quint.
Yes. Now, Captain Quint was actually a real guy.
Oh, okay.
If you look in the show folder, episode content of 77, there was a guy named, what's his name? Frank something? Frank Mundus. So he died in 2008, but he was a sport fisherman. And what was suspected was the author of Jaws was Peter Benchley.
Okay.
Apparently, Peter Benchley lived by this guy in Montauk, New York, I believe it was, and he chartered his fishing boat a couple of times.
Okay.
So Quint. So Robert or Frank Mundus, I guess he was like a spear fisherman for sharks, and he would take people out big game fishing. He would controversially, back in the 50s, kill whales to chum sharks.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
So apparently he was not very popular, but he turned out later to be from a shark hunter to a shark conservationist.
Oh.
He ended up dying of a heart attack, and they said, what did you think about the movie Jaws? I'll do it in my Robert Shaw voice. It was the funniest and stupidest movie I've ever seen, because too many stupid things happened in it. For instance, no shark can pull a boat backwards as fast as the speed with a line and a stern cleats that are only held by 2 bolts. And I've never boiled shark jaws. If you do, you'd only end up with a bunch of teeth at the bottom of a bucket because the jaw cartilage melts.
Hmm.
So, kind of a literal guy. Is it true that shark hunter Quint in Jaws is based on you? In what ways does he resemble you? Yes, he was. He knew how to handle the people the same way I did. He also used similar shark fishing techniques based on my methods. The only difference was he used handheld harpoons after field testing harpoon guns and discovered that they don't work. The dart would pull out after hitting the fish. So, no harpoon guns.
No harpoon guns.
Yeah, for the
Noted.
real Quint.
Yeah.
And so some of the things that I was looking at with the movie Jaws. So Jaws was one of the scariest movies I think I'd seen at the time when I was a kid.
Okay.
Directed by Spielberg.
Mhm.
It was his second film.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Us growing up in the New Jersey, New York area,
Yeah.
it was in those waters.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
It was supposedly built or supposedly based off of like real shark attacks, even though there's very few. So it was shot on Martha's Vineyard, so like Connecticut, New York,
Yeah.
New Jersey.
I think, yeah, Martha, it might be Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not.
And then Jaws was really about atmosphere. So like how it won the Oscar for, I think, like editing, sound, and like, I don't know, visual effects or something like that.
Okay.
But basically kind of all the stuff that supported this like great cast and great, cool story, awesome creature monster, great tech, because they had these robotic shark.
Yeah.
Even though it was a little jittery and crazy. Did Spielberg do Jurassic Park?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he ran into the same thing in Jurassic Park.
Well, I didn't get the animatronics would get wet,
Yes,
and that would cause problems.
and be jerky and stuff,
Mhm.
and
then they
so
would get overweighted, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so a lot of this is why is Jaws still so good, and a lot of it is because of the amount of undertone to it,
Yeah.
just the sound and the feeling
mood.
and the yes, super super good.
now I want to rewatch it.
You have to, everybody should watch the movie Jaws, and the characters are great too.
Yeah.
Richard Dreyfuss as the marine biologist. He's kind of the young, nerdy,
Mm-hmm.
sassy kid that doesn't know anything except he's very intelligent and knows a lot of shit. And then Quint's the complete opposite of that. He's the dude with the calluses and the bar fight, whatever. That's who
It's
he
like
is.
Joe from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Honest Joe. And there's what's it, Roy Scheider? Roy,
I don't know.
yeah. From Deep Space Nine. No, Sequest. The
Okay.
captain from Sequest?
I never watched Sequest.
No one did.
Okay, good.
And then there was that the mayor. I don't want that boy spilling out all over.
Yeah.
He was, but we're not closing that beach. Basically the opposite of anybody with COVID, any of the shitty mayors with COVID.
Right.
That Kintner boy. I don't want him spilling out all over this deck. It's got his double-breasted jacket with the anchors on it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it should be him next year.
There you go.
So probably the culmination, the of the entire movie for me at least was Quint's USS Indianapolis speech.
Oh yeah, classic.
Are you aware of the real story of the Indianapolis?
I'm not aware of the story. No.
So it's a real story. In this, they took some liberties. I think dates and a couple things were a little off. So Robert Shaw was telling this story apparently drunk. He was drunk at the time, the
Okay.
actor Robert Shaw, who played Quint. And so they kind of turned the cameras on, and he, first take, second take, something like that. He nailed
Nailed
it.
it.
And it is one of the greatest monologues, soliloquy, whatever you want to call it, out there. But the USS Indianapolis was a ship that was sent on a secret mission to deliver the bomb, because they weren't going to fly the bomb over, so they used a ship to get it there, but they didn't tell anybody about it. So when it was torpedoed, the ship went down, and then there was nobody knew.
Interesting.
And so a bunch of guys got killed. It's not quite as dramatic, I think, as here, but there's plenty of lore about those days, about what really transpired with people. Do you want me to do the speech?
Oh, of course.
All right, I'll be playing Robert Shaw in Jaws. I'm Captain Quint. We are drinking. I have a teacup full of whiskey. It's me, and Chief would be Roy Scheider,
Okay.
captain of Sequest. And then there is also Richard Dreyfuss, the young Mr. Hooper.
And you guys are on the boat?
Mm-hmm. And it's very dark out, and you can just all things just kind of swaying in the motion. You can hear the creaking of the ship's hull. They're in the Orca, which is Quint's boat.
Mm-hmm.
So they're comparing scars, and I got that one. This was a whatever. And he says, "Oh, what's that one?" He says, "Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. It was coming back from the island of Tinian to Leyte. Just delivered the bomb, the Hiroshima bomb. 1,100 men went in the water. Vessel went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. Tiger, 13-footer.
I'm the shark.
Yep. 13-footer. You know how you know that when you're in the water, Chief? You tell from looking from the dorsal to the tail. Well, we didn't know, because our bomb mission had been so secret no distress signal had been sent. They didn't even list us overdue for a week. Very first light, Chief, the sharks came cruising. So we formed ourselves in little tight groups. It's kind of like the old squares in battle, like you see on a calendar, like the Battle of Waterloo. And the idea was the shark nearest the man, then he'd start pounding and hollering and screaming, and sometimes the shark go away, sometimes he wouldn't go away. Sometimes that shark, he just look right into you. Right into your eyes. You know the thing about a shark? He's got lifeless eyes. Black eyes. Like a doll's eyes. When he comes at you, he doesn't seem to be living. Until he bites you. And those black eyes roll back white. And then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming, and the ocean turns red, and in spite of all the pounding and hollering, they all come and rip you to pieces. By the end of the first dawn, lost 100 men. I don't know how many sharks, maybe 1,000. I don't know how many men. They averaged 6 an hour. On Thursday morning, Chief, I bumped into a friend of mine, Herbie Robinson from Cleveland, baseball players, postman's mate. I thought he was asleep. I reached down to wake him up. He bobbed up and down in the water just like a kind of top. Upended. Well, he'd been bitten in half below the waist. Noon on the 5th day, Mr. Hooper. A Lockheed Ventura saw us, and he swung low. He's a young pilot, a lot younger than Mr. Hooper anyway. He saw us and come in low, and 3 hours later, a big fat PBY come down and start to pick us up. You know, that was the time I was the most frightened, waiting for my turn. I'll never put on a life jacket again. So 1,100 men went in the water, 316 men come out, the sharks took the rest. July the 29th, 1945. Anyway, we delivered the bomb.
Yay.
And then you drink your whiskey from your teacup. Yeah,
This was our most dramatic episode yet.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good job.
I wasn't trying to ham it up that much because I don't think I could beat Drahoon. You know,
He definitely was next level.
dude, yeah, he's all up in there. He's getting up all in that crazy mind space. No, it's great because we have a new friend of the show. That's really cool.
Yep.
And now we know with like Zoom and stuff, we could like, I don't know, have Joe Rogan on or whatever.
Yeah, totally. It's in the works.
Mm-hmm. So, Roma,
Mm-hmm.
what'd you think of our new outro that we debuted last week?
I thought it was hilarious. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah, I think we got some pretty good feedback on it. It's
Mm-hmm.
got some really funny moments in it. And I think it's got little things that people will pick up.
As you listen to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, part that you have to have is
That's
like
part of the genius of them, though, is that the more you listen to it, you're like, oh,
the
you know.
little jokes
Yep.
in there and especially if you're familiar with the show, you
Mhm.
could probably pick out where all these things have come from.
yep, if you've seen the episodes.
Yes.
Although I must say, there's things that I'm like, I don't even remember saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the show, and I've listened to all the shows, too.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, then I guess people probably won't know exactly where they're from. And yeah, and as our cast of characters diversifies, I think it's good for us to just have a greater pool from which to draw
Mhm.
our comedy from. So I think if obviously the more episodes we do, the more clips we get, the more we can make fun things
The
out of
more
them.
ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Roma, I certainly appreciate you going with the Jaws theme.
Yep.
Very cool.
This is my slightly retarded shark Jaws outfit that I made.
Now, did you find some sort of where was your inspiration from?
Well, I mean, you told me what you were gonna go as,
Mhm.
and I knew that I had a gray hoodie,
Okay.
so
And so you just put it together
so I
like,
just put it together.
guess I'm,
I'll
yeah,
just be Jaws.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so your vision was, I'm going to take a dorsal fin, put it on the back of this, throw some teeth up in it.
And
then-
googly eyes.
Yeah.
So if you notice, he's got fins, like the things that you breathe out of. What do they call those?
Gills.
Gills. He's
Mhm.
got gills. Well, I had put the eyes down lower because I thought, like, oh, his eyes are further back from his mouth, but
Yeah.
it just looked really retarded.
Yeah.
So I glue him up. I glued him higher, but then it left a glue spot. So now he's got gills.
So you had to glue on some ears.
Yep,
Shark ears.
shark ears.
Mm-hmm. So
And then you can see it's got this cool pattern here,
Mm-hmm.
which is, you would think that I'm just that artistic, but actually I glued the teeth onto the outside and realized it looked extra retarded, so I pulled them all off and stuck them on the inside.
Roma, you're learning a lot of lessons. Hard learned lessons.
I know.
Yeah.
So, and I've got my fin.
I like it, Roma. You know, you tell the size of a shark when you're in the water with them, Chief. Measure from dorsal to tail.
So,
Tiger, 13-footer. So Roma, do you want to promote anything?
absolutely.
All right.
So you can check us out on Instagram and Facebook at the Sensible Sociopath Podcast. Of course, like and subscribe to our podcast here. Share us with your friends if you enjoy what you see. You can find us on Patreon, The Sensible Sociopath on Patreon, and donate to the cause.
You can find us trick-or-treating at your house.
Yeah,
So that's kind of cool.
that'll be fun. We'll be signing autographs.
That's right. I'll be signing Snickers wrappers. Empty Snickers wrappers.
They're fucking delicious.
Yeah. So please, like, subscribe, and comment, everyone. And we will see you. I think I want to do something before the election. So
Okay.
I think we're going to do a special episode. A very special episode.
We'll figure it out.
And if we don't, oh well. There's that too. That's a thing that happens too. But we hope everybody has a safe and happy Halloween.
Yep. This is a pre-recorded show, so we'll hang out with you live on the show in the chat room.
But you won't know that till you've watched the show, douchebags. Suckers.
All right, good night, everybody. Happy Halloween. Bye.
Best podcast in the world.
The world would not be the same.
I like it.
No wonder my anxiety's so high.
Few people laughed. Few people cried.
Oh, what's in the box?
Most people were silent.
And that was it.
Now I am become death,
Sounds like a bad time.
the destroyer of worlds.
Yeah, so this doesn't seem like a great idea to me.
I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
You didn't tell me any of that. That's crazy.
Well, Roma, when you're a hero, you don't tell everyone until you're on your podcast.
I'm about to hear some shit.
We all need to laugh.
I think just sitting down and, listening to...
The Sensible Sociopath. This is the shit you're supposed to be watching.
Gen X is going to love it. Millennials are going to be like, I'm offended.
You have offended me.
Also, my dog has a giant dick.
Oh my god, that's enormous.
I love it.
It's still a racist dog whistle.
Where you kind of have like a rotating cast of characters.
We're talking baby seals, eagles, wolves.
I'm just glad we're not going to have to eat with racism anymore.
It's worse than the butthole.
We're technically considered propaganda.
It is very contagious.
I think we really need to talk about environmentalism.
Like, are they studying pine cones?
Make yourself a nice stingray omelet. That's how Steve Irwin died. Cholesterol.
They're fucking delicious.
His father had ended up killing his mother and committing suicide.
In that order?
That's diabolical. I like it.
They had an apple gun where you could shoot Bigfoot.
Has she always been retarded?
I mean, she could have had a head injury.
You don't know anything about tartar sauce.
He had picked up a 400-pound statue and was like walking around with it.
Was the statue racist?
I'd like to think so.
It's like how they invented bacon and avocado to make a turkey sandwich tolerable.
I have a fear of fire.
Like a werewolf? Daniel, you've been our greatest viewer. Well, Daniel and Sarah and Katrina.
Daniel!